Hey everybody, welcome to You Can Do Math. Today we are going to solve quadratics, but we only have two terms this time, and both terms have a variable. All right guys, let's get started. All right guys, we have four problems for today. The first problem is 6x squared plus 48x equals 0. Our whole goal today is to solve for x. It is a quadratic, we know that it is a parabola, and we're going to solve this quadratic by factoring, okay? So when you only have two terms and both terms have a variable, I want you to look for the greatest common factor. So looking at both terms, what's the greatest number you can divide both of those terms by? Well, we can divide them both by 6. Now I want you to think about if you can divide them both by a variable. They both share at least an x, so we can divide an x for both terms. The question is, can we divide them both by x squared? And the answer is no, because the 48 does not have an x squared. It only has an x. So the greatest common factor for the 6x squared plus 48x is 6x. So what we're going to do now is after you write down after each term below it what that greatest common factor is, then we're going to divide. So now I'm going to say that we took the 6x and we are dividing that out of the first term. And when we do that, we're just left with an x. Now let me slow down for just a second. If you have 6 divided by 6, that's just a 1. And then x squared divided by the x, that leaves us with 1x. Okay, good. So now we go to the next term. Plus 48 divided by 6 is 8, and then x divided by x simply cancels because it is 1. We're going to end that parenthesis and still have it equal 0. Remember, our goal is to solve for x, and we are doing it by factoring. So now what we can do is we can set up the 0 property to say, well, this 6x equals 0, so 6x equals 0, and the x plus 8 equals 0. Then we can solve each individual equation, and then we have our two answers. So we'll divide by 6, x is 0, and then subtract 8 to the other side, and x is a -8. All right, how'd you guys do? Okay, you doing all right? All right, let's go ahead and do example 2. All right, so example 2, and I'm hoping you're writing this down right as I'm writing this down on your paper, taking notes with me, just like you would if you were in class. Let's go ahead and for example number 2, let's start off with x squared plus 2x equals 0. All right, so greatest common factor, what do you notice that both of those terms share? Well, they at least share an x, right? We can divide them both by an x. Now, is there a number that we can divide as well? And that answer is no. Well, I mean 1, but no. So x is going to be our greatest common factor, and then now we're going to divide both terms by x. So x squared divided by x gives us an x, and then 2x divided by x is 2, and it equals 0. Now, if you're unsure of that part when you're starting to do your work, what I want you to do is I want you to multiply back through, distribute that x back through, and see if you get back to the original problem that we started with. So let's take a look at that right now. So like x times x, right, distributing that x is x squared, good. And then x times 2 is 2x. So it works, it checks out. All right, so now that we have factored our quadratic, we can set up our two equations that the x equals 0. That's easy, you didn't have to do anything else there. And then x plus 2 equals 0. And then simply we'll need to solve the second equation, and x equals a -2. Remember, these two solutions that we're finding is where our parabola crosses the x-axis on a graph, right? So it would be at 0 and -2. All right, awesome. Let's go ahead and do example number 3. 3 out of 4 already. Okay, time flies when we're having fun. Let's do 2x squared minus 2x equals 0. Sure. Okay, so if you're starting to feel confident, like I think I can find the greatest common factor and then solve, then please pause. If you're not quite there yet, that's okay. Still follow with me, and then I'll have you pause on example number 4. All right, so let's see. Greatest common factor is a 2 and an x. I can divide both of those terms by 2 and an x. So I'm going to rewrite that equation factored now. 2x parenthesis would be x minus, what happens here? Well, if they all cancel, right, the 2x divided by 2x is just 1. Make sure you are putting that 1. It just doesn't disappear. 2x divided by 2x is 1, so we do need to write that down. Don't forget equals 0, and now let's go ahead and set up our two equations to solve. We have our 2x equals 0, and our x minus 1 equals 0. And let's solve them separately. So divide by 2, x equals 0, and if we add 1 to each side, x is a positive 1. All right, so here it is, example number 4. Let's go ahead and write it down, and then I want you to make that decision on where you are at with this video. How about let's do 2x squared minus 16x equals 0. All right, take a look at it. Good. I want you to pause. I want you to try this on your own, and then press play when you are ready. All right. Here we go. I noticed that both terms can be divided by 2x. And then I'm going to rewrite this equation now in factored form. So the 2x, our greatest common factor, comes out front, and then it is just x minus 8 equals 0. Now I can set up my two equations. 2x equals 0 and x minus 8 equals 0. And one of our answers is 0. And the other answer, when you add 8 to the other side, is a positive 8. All right, I really enjoyed working on these problems with you. I wish that we were in class and I could walk around and I could answer questions. And if you do have any questions, please email me. I would love to hear from you. I miss you guys. And please don't forget to like the video and send me your work, and don't cheat. And that's it. Okay, bye guys.